Yitzchak and Rivka and how we can learn from Yitzchak and Rivka the secret to lasting love. This is one of my favorite teachings. Let us dive right in. Okay, so just to set the stage, Yitzchak is a bachelor. This is for me like the script material for the best like show movie like love story movie love romance movie ever. What's the story? There's this prince. Yitzchak is the child, the sole heir of multi-billionaire Avram Avinu, who owns more property than he could ever even want to own. There's Rivka, who was born into a depraved society, horrible, evil, wicked brother, Lavan, who she's 3 years old. They're forcing her to go carry water on her own, right? So she's living in this horrible place surrounded by evil and wicked people. And Avram sends Eliezer and says, "Go find me a wife, it's Rivka." And she says, "How am I going to do that?" He says, "Well, go to where was it? Haran, Aram. I'm blinking out. What? Go to what's the city? I forget." And to Aram Naharaim, El Ir Nahor, the city of Nahor. And over there I have relatives, and you'll find the right person. And Hashem will help you. And he's like, okay. So Eliezer is traveling. He says, I don't know how I'm going to know who's the right wife for Yitzchak. How am I supposed to do this? I'm not a matchmaker. Like, I didn't take a matchmaking course. How am I going to do this? So he says, God, you have to help me. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Avram sends him with 10 camels, laden, heavy with everything a girl could want. Everything a little girl, princess could ever want. Clothing and jewelry and luxuries, dolls, you name it, right? She has everything on this. And he's like, I have to find this wife to give it to. And he's like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. So he's getting there. Hashem makes Kvitzas Derech. He gets there in the same day that he left. Hashem makes a miracle. He gets there that day, and he's getting to the well, and he's going to the well. The well is the place to find love in the olden days. The well was the meeting spot. It was like the siftach coffee shop. It was where you went. Everyone needs water. There was no running water. Everyone needs water because everyone's at the well. That's the social place. So that's where you go meet a wife. All of our avos pretty much met at the well. Yaakov met Rachel at the well. Yitzchak met Rivka at the well. Moshe met his wife Tzipporah at the well. Right? There was this rock covering the well. So I always say, if you're stuck looking for love, remember when I was single, I said I'm going to go find love at the well. I don't know. The modern day well is a supermarket, the grocery store, the coffee shop. Everyone needs coffee. We don't have coffee, so we go get coffee. So, so he makes a deal with God, and he says, I'm gonna look. I have my camels. I'm gonna come. I'm a new person to this town. I'm gonna look for a girl, and whoever agrees to give me water will be the right one for Yitzchak. I know she's kind, and Yitzchak needs a kind wife. So what happens is he goes and he sees he takes 10. Okay, he goes and he sees Rivka, and Rivka offers him water and says, not only you, but I'm going to give all of your camels water. Camels are the thirstiest human beings. And she goes back and forth, and she fills the water, rises up to her, and Yitzchak immediately knows, right, this is the wife for Yitzchak. She feeds 10 camels water. She brings him home, and like she is basically this like the winner of like the best love story in the world. She suddenly sees him. She says, "Do you want to come to my house and stay?" Her husband and brother invite her. There's a long back and forth. There's no less than 57 psukim dedicated to the shidduch of Yitzchak and Rivka, not to their life. There's no psukim about Avram's whole childhood, 0 to 75, but 57 psukim about this story of Yitzchak finding Rivka. So it's clearly very important for us in what we look for in a wife, right? And in teaching us about dating and what it means to look for somebody, to find to what the qualities we're looking for in a woman, etc., and how to find a wife, how to go about seeking a wife, that a man should pursue it like an active, it's not something that just comes to you. You should actively pursue it. There's so many messages you can learn from this. But long story short, finally, the Rivka's husband and brother don't want her to go, but she says, "I'm going anyways." She was raised. They were evil, wicked. They were selfish. They were so much. The town that she grew up in was so depraved that they said that it was a miracle that she was a virgin. She was 3 years old. And they said that it was a miracle that she was a 3-year-old virgin, and that almost no one was a virgin. And if they were a virgin, they had given up all their other openings to men, and they'd only saved that one spot for marriage. So any virgin was like, and she was a complete virgin, and so it was clearly depraved. And that's why Rivka is called a rose among thorns, because she was surrounded by thorns, but she was not affected by her outside. Her character. What we can learn from Rivka is to be her own person, despite what everyone around her is succumbing to. She's like, I don't have to sign up, to subscribe to all of the things society tells us to. And now as a Jewish nation, we need to be like Rivka more than ever, because we've tried assimilating with the non-Jews. We thought that would save us from another Holocaust, right? Everyone thought if we assimilate and we act like the non-Jews and we dress like the non-Jews and we believe in their culture and we go to their colleges, we'll be saved. Obviously that didn't work, and it's never going to work. The only thing that's going to work is ignoring all of the cultural values around us and only sticking to Torah. The only thing that is ever, it's sticking to the true at lasting values of Torah and mitzvahs. That's the only thing that can keep us, and that can keep us together and keep us strong. So Rivka was this beautiful rose among thorns. She, here's the part of the love story that I love. So she says, I'm going with him, whether you like it or not. They said, we'll have to ask her opinion. So even though those who say, how could he have married her at 3 years old? She was clearly, either she wasn't 3, either their age, their years were different, and 3 then was different than it was now. Or a 3-year-old was so developed then to the point that they said, let's ask Rivka what she thinks, right? If she was a regular 3-year-old, they're not going to ask her opinion. They're going to send her. So she says, I'm going with this man, like it or not, right? He gives her, and he places the nose ring on her and the bracelets on her and all the gorgeous jewelry, and she becomes from like rags to riches, like no more carrying water for you guys, I'm off, right? I'm off now. And she goes on a camel and he leads her back to Yitzchak, and this is like the moment of the rom-com, like I think it's just like would be like the best moment of the movie, where like she's sitting on her camel, and she sees Yitzchak in the field from far away, and she sees him and she's so struck by love that she falls off of her camel with like love. It's like love at first sight, right? So it's like the funny moment, right? It literally totally tells us she falls off her camel. Just so you know, as a side point, camels are mentioned at least 20 times in this week's parsha, and there's a lot of depth to that idea of what we learned from camels. So that's just another class I once gave. Just a teaser. I can link it below. But yeah, so camels, I just want to shout out, because camels make a big part of this week's parsha. They're probably the like main characters. So shout out to camels, the main filling characters in this rom-com. So Rivka sees Yitzchak. She falls immediately, is full of love for this beautiful man. She falls off her camel, and Yitzchak says, this is the words that I want to focus on. Yitzchak, it says that he marries her. It says that Yitzchak married her. Then he loves her, and then he married her. Then he but do you know how to close that noise?
What?
Is that noise able to be closed? It's just distracting to me with my ADD. See if your pizza's on you or is it in the car. If it's not here, it's fine. Doesn't matter.
What do you need?
Nothing. Look, I love this part. Look at the last source. Yitzchak went to the field, lifnot era, before evening, during mincha time, to daven mincha. This is where Yitzchak established his prayer at mincha. Vayisa einav, and he lifts his eyes. Vayar, and what does he see? Not Rivka, camels, right? That's why I'm saying camels are the main character here. He sees camels coming, and I brought a bunch of the sources. Vatisa Rivka's Einam. Rivka lifts her eyes, but Teres Yitzchak, and she sees Yitzchak, Vatipa me'al hagamal, and she falls off the camel. Now this is the pasuk. Vayivya Yitzchak ha'ola Sarah imo, and Yitzchak brings her to the tent of Sarah, his mother. That's the pasuk that we spoke about earlier. Vayikach as Rivka, and he took Rivka v'tihilo leisha, and then he married her. He took her to the tent, and she became his wife. Vayi'aveha, and he loved her. I loved her, and then she comforted him for the death of his mother. He was comforted after the passing, losing his mother, right? That's the Freudian pasuk. Now the what I want to focus on the word in this week's pasuk, in this pasuk is vayi'aveh, that he loved her. That this is the first time in the Torah that it speaks about love between a husband and wife. And there's a lot to learn between Yitzchak and Rivka about what it means to have true love between a husband and wife. First, we have Adam and Chava. It says Vayeda, that they knew one another intimately. It doesn't say the word love. Obviously, they loved one another. Then we have Avram and Sarah. Again, it doesn't use the word love. We know that they loved each other very much because Avram mourned her for many, many, many months. He was devastated after she passed away. And also, he hid her in the box. He knew she was beautiful. He had respect for her. He took her opinion. So there was definitely love between them. However, we don't see the word love in the Torah being mentioned. This is the first time that we have the word love between a husband and a wife, where it says Vayaveh, and he loved her. One thing that's interesting is that the love began after they got married. That later on we're going to see that it says Yaakov Sarah, and immediately he loved her, and then he married her. With Yitzchak, he married her and then he began to love her, and so that's something we're going to focus on.
You're Rivka.
I'm Rivka. Yeah. Anyone else Rivka? Oh yeah. I have a whole other class on the name Rivka and the name Yitzchak and what they mean, but no. I could send you the class on it. It's a beautiful name. So what is the message? So what do we learn? Obviously, there's something that we can learn from Yitzchak and Rivka about true love. The Torah is telling us the name Vayaveh, the first time love between husband and wife. What is it that we learn from them? What is unique about their love that can teach us about true lasting love? So we're going to now analyze the three avos and the three different stages of love and marriage. So we have Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Each of them are famous for establishing one of the tefillot that we have today. Avraham established which tefillah? Shacharit, right? And Yitzchak established right here in this pasuk Mincha. We see that Yitzchak davened in the evening, afternoon Mincha, and Yaakov established Ma'ariv in the evening. And we learned that this is actually representative of three stages of life, three different types of life. Avraham epitomized morning. He was the morning, the ultimate morning person. The morning, establishing davening in the morning. The morning is when we experience newness and ischatros. In the morning, we have the opportunity to start again. And Avram's lifespan, Avram's mission, Avram's life was all about the newness and the first. Avram was the first person to discover Hashem. When Avram had to wake up to do Akedah Yitzchak, it says, Vayashkem Avram Baboker, he woke up early in the morning. Avram's essence was being a morning person, being the first to do everything. The morning brings within it freshness and newness and new opportunities. So that's why Avraham establishing Shacharis is very fitting. We're going to skip Yitzchak and go to Yaakov. Yaakov is the epitome of a night person. What is the night? The night brings with it the energy of drama, of mystery, of romance, of suspense, all of that darkness, and in that darkness it clouds all of the drama, mystery, suspense, and excitement. That was Yaakov's life. That's why Yaakov established Ma'ariv, because it was his whole avoda was specifically dealing with darkness. Yaakov is the one who went out to Haran and battled with darkness and dealt with the darkness all around him. Yitzchak and Avraham stayed in Eretz Yisrael, but Yaakov went down into the darkness. Also, every time throughout Yaakov's life, the craziest thing, you'll see that all of his main moments, key moments in life happened in the night, specifically in the nighttime. The moment that he encountered God and that ladder, the dream of the ladder, was at night. The moment when he got his mission. When he ran away from Lavan, Lavan said, "Why are you leaving me at night?" And his other big mission, when Yaakov got his name Yisrael, when he fought with the demon of Esav the entire night, it says that he spent the entire night. That was his moment. Vayivasar Yaakov Vado, the all night. He went back at night to retrieve the jugs, those sparks of kedusha. He encountered the demon he had to fight, and then it says when the morning came, the guy disappeared. He was gone. Right? Yaakov's mission and his battles in life happened at night, in the darkness, in the mystery. He had all the drama and the romance and the love stories, right? All the passion. That was Yaakov's life, filled with the ups and downs and losing his son and his son Yosef, and then Binyamin, and loving Rachel, and then losing her and marrying the wrong woman. All of that drama, that was Yaakov's life. But it's amazing how you literally see that every moment of Yaakov's life, his biggest missions happened at night. And then we have Yitzchak. And Yitzchak is an afternoon kind of guy. And what is an afternoon? An afternoon is a pretty boring time. It's when the middle part of life. It's not the morning when you have the freshness and the newness of the day ahead of you. It's not the nighttime with the mystique and the mystery. It's the middle of the day, the regular day-to-day grind. The afternoon is when we're doing the bulk of our the routine work, or either at home, the day-to-day household chores, dinner, bedtime, or at work, doing all the work that we have to do. This was Yitzchak's life. Yitzchak didn't move much in his life. Yitzchak's life epitomized afternoon. Yitzchak stayed in Eretz Yisrael his whole life, didn't go anywhere. His whole life has very little drama surrounding it. Other than the Akedah, the rest of his life, he dug wells. If you learn everything in the Torah, we learn about Yitzchak's life. He had this meeting of Rivka. He brings her to the home. She comforts him for his mother. And then he spends his life digging wells. And then people fill the wells, and then he digs more wells. And then even the wells that Yaakov dug were attributed to Yitzchak also. He's a well digger, and we're going to get to the significance of that as well. What it means, what's the significance of being a well digger. But that's what epitomized Yitzchak Avinu. And so Yitzchak's whole life was dealing with the regular, mundane, day-to-day things of life. Which is the afternoon, and that's why he established Mincha. So we have our three characters, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and we learn that those represent, this Shachris, Mincha, and Ma'ariv represent three stages of marriage. When you get married, there's a new, fresh, exciting honeymoon phase. When you're in love, that's the Avram phase of marriage, the morning of the marriage, right? That is the passionate, the initial passion, the excitement, right? We all know what the first year when you're in love and in your honeymoon phase. Then there's the evening part of marriage. There is the drama of marriage, the mystique, the romance of marriage, those romantic moments that happen throughout life, the back and forth, right? That happen when you fight and break up, right? When there's like that drama of fighting and breaking up, when there's arguments that bring you passionately close together and far away, the romance of marriage, and then there's the middle of the marriage, the rest of the marriage, which is most of it. And the truth is that the morning of marriage always fades. The newness in the honeymoon phase, it's meant to fade. It's not going to last forever, because if it lasts forever, it wouldn't be that honeymoon phase, right? it wouldn't be called that. It's the honeymoon phase. It begins and ends, and it always fades out. And even the drama of marriage, the drama and the mystique, the night of marriage, that fades as a couple over the many years learn to communicate better. That drama intensity of the like passion of the arguing and the back together and that also eventually fades over time, right? Even when it is there, it's not there all the time. And even though you have that back and forth and a little bit of the mystique and the drama, what about the rest of your marriage? What you're ending up left with is the afternoon marriage, that the day-to-day mundane going by in life. And that's why many marriages unfortunately fizzle out, because they're chasing that high, and when that high goes away and there's nothing left, they're like on to the next thing, right? So that is why, so let's backtrack. That is why Yitzhak and Rivka's marriage was the epitome of lasting love. Was the epitome of what it means. And we're going to go take a lesson from when Yitzhak dug wells. What does it mean to dig wells? It means to find water, to find depth in the regular mundane, to dig in the regular day-to-day places and to dig there and find depth. And to be able to find true love in the mundane, the day-to-day life, in the regular day-to-day life, that is what true love and true lasting marriage happens in the day-to-day. True love doesn't happen from making the honeymoon phase last forever. True love happens by finding and digging and finding the depth and the love and the depths of the reservoirs of water, of waters of connection that are there. And when it dries out, you just dig deeper, right? If you're in the day-to-day and you're feeling like it's drying out, where's the romance, where's the passion? Keep digging, dig another well, right? And that well dries up, dig another well. Someone stuffs that well, right? The love, the initial connection and love between two halves of one soul are always there. The issue is it's like a well. Sometimes it gets covered up. So that's why the Avos meeting at a well was such a powerful message to all of us, because by meeting by a well, we're saying a well, the water is always there. The reservoir water is always there, but often the well could get stuffed up and covered up. You need to uncover. Sometimes you need to uncover what it is that's covering up that connection between you. So you need to figure out what issues you have, what issues are you not sharing, what's on your heart that you need to get off your chest and work through, so you could uncover that natural water, that natural love that's there. Or what is it? What do we need to do to replenish, to redig that love? Maybe we need to just dig another well to get to that water that's there. How do we dig another well? We spend more time together. We get to know one another, and that's why I always say that you have to keep getting to know your spouse. Like in Elul, we marry Hashem, we have to constantly get to know our spouse, because that's like digging new wells. We have to dig deeper and deeper and constantly dig new wells all the time, because what happens otherwise is that we have the day-to-day and we just grow apart and we don't know one another. But if we're constantly re-digging wells and re-getting to know one another and digging and learning more about one another and exploring deeper, then that wealth of love, water will just continue coming and flowing throughout the day-to-day marriage. So Yitzhak and Rivka teach us that true love, when the Torah says love between husband and wife for the first time, it's not about the passionate love of Yaakov and Rachel, even though some people may have that they had initially, but that love, that had a tragic ending. It's about the love between Yitzhak and Rivka, that they began with a small love when they met one another, they had the initial connection, but the true love happened after the wedding. After that passion, that he brought her into the home, the passion ended, and that's when true love began. In the day-to-day, spending time with one another, give and take, truly listening, caring for each other, nurturing each other, listening, knowing what your partner loves and likes, and doing those things for them, hearing them after every single day, sharing the most important parts of your life with one another, talking about things in life, spending time together in the day-to-day, carving out and digging out in your day-to-day time together to share with one another. That is where true love happens. And I'm going to end with a story of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, a mind-blowing story. The Rebbe had this conversation, a meeting with a woman named Hannah Sharfstein about love, and she was in the parsha of dating, the dating parsha. That's what we used to call it, right? Remember, they were in the parsha. We don't say that anymore. Yeah, they still say you're in the parsha. So the. Do I have a story? Yes. Okay. So she met with the Rebbe. The Rebbe asked her a lot of questions about her courses. She was in college, her professors, her plans for the future. And then he said, what are your plans about dating? So the Rebbe started suggesting names. She said, well, I met a few people, but none of them are suitable for me. I don't want to marry any of them. So the Rebbe started mentioning different names of boys. So what about this boy? And she was like, I met that boy. And the Rebbe kept on mentioning boys that she had met. And she said she started to get spooked. Like, she's like, what about this boy? And she's like, well, I met him. And she kept listing reasons why each one wasn't a good fit. And the Rebbe smiled and he said, you're reading too many fiction novels. And she said, wait, how do you know? How do you know I'm reading too much fiction? He said, and so the Rebbe smiled and he explained to her that she said, as a father to a daughter, he began to explain to me the meaning of real love. The Rebbe chuckled and told me I read too many books. I don't know how he know, but he knew. Love, he said, is not what is portrayed in romance novels. He says that fiction is just it's not that overwhelming, blinding emotion that's portrayed in a romance. Those books do not portray real life, he said. It is a fantasy world, a make-believe world with made-up emotions. Fiction is just that, fiction, but real life is different. And then, as a father to a daughter, he began to explain to me the meaning of love. Love, he told me, is an emotion that increases in strength throughout life. It is sharing and caring and respecting one another. It's building a life together, a unit of family and home. The love that you feel as a young bride, he continued, is only the beginning of real love. It is through a small, everyday acts of living together that love flourishes and grows. And so, he continued, the love that you feel after 5 years or 10 years is a gradual strengthening of bonds. As two lives unite to form one with time, one reaches a point where each partner feels a part of the other, where each partner can no longer visualize life without his mate by his side. Smilingly, he told me to put aside the romantic notions developed by my literary involvement and view love and marriage in a meaningful way. This is such an impactful idea that true lasting love is in those meaningful moments, in loving and respecting and carving out time for mincha. Just like we carve out mincha for Hashem in our day-to-day of our busy life, we carve out time in the in the middle of the day-to-day busyness of life, we carve out time to focus and love one another, to share a moment of love, to share a moment of affection, to care and to ask and to nurture that love every single day. And then suddenly, 10 years later, the love is so great and you're like, how did it get here, right? It wasn't like the romance novels in one day. But obviously it goes without saying that there has to be some spark of love before one gets married. You can't get married and say love will follow after marriage. There has to be a potential, a hamshacha, a pull to one another, and then that flame, that tiny flame, tiniest of flames, and then that flame can continue growing and growing into the fire that it hopefully continues to be. So l'chaim, I bless all of us with love, lasting love in all of our lives, a love that continues to grow, and to know that even if it feels like the love isn't there anymore, which is unfortunately the case for so many people that I speak to, it's normal. It's normal to feel like the love, where's the love gone, and it's not there, but it is there, and it's just under the well. We just have to take out the rocks that are covering the well, or dig a new well. Spend that time taking the time to uncover, to take away the things that are blocking that well, and rediscover the love. L'chaim, thank you so much for joining.
Very nice.